happened physically first. Instead of a 6'6" African-American man from the deep South, you had this 5-foot-something white Anglo-Saxon Protestant from the deep Northeast. I say 5-foot-something because wherever the 6'6" man would tower over his employees, my other supervisor was confined to a wheelchair or to a cane due to his physical disability, his cerebral palsy. It would be hard-pressed for him to boom his voice over and above the rafters to inspire courage or demand efficiency. Instead, he spoke softly. Instead of commanding, he questioned, reflected, pondered. He wouldn't mind spending an hour or two to sit, to connect with patients and employees alike, to learn of your spiritual journey. And I want to say, he became something of worth also. From being a clinical supervisor, he too now manages another pastoral care department of a whole hospital. Not too bad, right? And maybe you've had bosses like these, supervisors in your lifetime that do the same. The first one's a go-getter with a portfolio of practical success, but lack depth, mutuality. The second is a sit-wither instead of a go-getter that had depth, stories, but no materiality to show for it. And the age-old question is, well, which is better? The first response, knee-jerk, that we have comes from our secular nature. It highly values productivity. The way we produce our labor or our efforts, we exonerate efficiency. Case in point, I went to the mechanic a few weeks back. I got the bill, and it was over $140 an hour to change out brake rotors. I thought in the back of my head, that's a ripoff. I complained a little bit because I thought in the back of my head, wow, this guy is drawing down $250,000 salary just to do brakes. $140 an hour. But the idea behind it, he said, it only took me 2 hours to change out those rotors instead of 2 days compared to an amateur, an armchair mechanic. I have the experience. I've been changing those rotors for years of experience. You may have been in the same position also. You may be thinking, I might need a new mechanic at the end of the day. But it doesn't matter if it's mechanics or lawyers or doctors. We highly value efficiency, how much somebody can do within an hour or 2 hours' time. In our reading today, it seemed that Martha valued some kind of efficiency, productivity, while everyone else was just sitting and contemplating the words of Jesus. Martha was serving, as it says, cleaning the dishes, prepping the dinner, setting about everything she needed to do, because ostensibly a party came to her home without notice. And when she went to complain to Jesus about Mary's lack of action, lack of duty, lack of productivity, Jesus reprimands her. Christ says, Mary has chosen the good portion. And so we say, well, that's what we're supposed to do, because it fulfills a certain criteria. Number one, it seems countercultural. Mary sitting at the foot of the teacher instead of doing dishes and serving. It's against our ingrained notion of productivity and efficiency. So since it's against our natural impulse of the flesh, this must be what God wants for us all to be Marys. And number two, it's sitting down with God himself and learning from him. So that too must be what God desires.